feel better.
Good evening. I now call the Rocklin Unified School District Board of Education regular meeting for Wednesday, April 21st, 2021 to order. Brenda, will you please call the roll?
Julie Hupp,
Yes.
Rick Miller,
Here.
Shel Price,
Here.
Tiffany Satthoff,
Here.
Derek Counter.
Here. Prior to adjourning to the closed session, are there any public comments on closed session items? So, yeah. All right. The board will now adjourn to the closed session regarding items listed on the agenda. The board will resume open session at 6:30 p.m. Convene to open session. The board previously met for closed session. Trustee Hupp, will you please read the action taken in closed session?
In closed session, the board moved to approve the terms of a settlement agreement for the Office of Administrative Hearing, OAH case numbers 20201000038 and 20201102993, student number 04212021-10, one case, and to authorize the superintendent to execute the agreement on behalf of the district.
Thank you. Folks, apologize for you. I've spent a little bit too much time back there, but apologize for that. So we wanted to welcome you back to an in-person meeting. It's good to see everyone out here. As a reminder to the public, the board meeting is open and available for in-person attendance and participation in the RUSD boardroom, which we're all sitting in, with limited seating to meet the COVID-19 public health guidance. The meeting is also available via live stream for live public viewing. Those individuals who wish to provide verbal public comment must do so in person by attending the meeting per Board Bylaw 9323, and to allow the community an opportunity to participate in meetings, to hear the board discussions, deliberations, and voting items. Verbal public comment will be limited to 10 people, approximately 3 minutes each, or 30 minutes total, and comment on one agenda item. This will allow the public a chance to hear the board's discussion and vote at a reasonable time. Those individuals who wish to provide written public comment may do so virtually, through the link provided on the board agenda under item 2.1. Please note that all written public comments submitted will be read silently by the board. So tonight we have Kaylee Hamilton from Whitney High School with us as our student board member. Kaylee, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? And I think we have...
Yes. So the commander and U.S. flag bearer for this evening's color guard is Cadet Captain Anson Richmond. The state flag is carried by Cadet Major Cade Todd. The right guard is Cadet Senior Master Sergeant Caleb Soliza. The left guard is Cadet Captain Jackson Snyder. The alternate tonight is Cadet Staff Sergeant Elizabeth Nesnov. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the presentation of the colors by the Whitney High School Air Force Junior ROTC Color Guard and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Left, haste, present, colors.
You may begin.
Order, colors.
You may be seated.
Right, haste, forward, march.
Now moving on to special recognitions and presentations. Chief Dosanjh will introduce the Remedy RX Pharmacy for providing COVID-19 vaccines to RUSD staff recognition. Chief Dosanjh.
Good evening, President Counter, Board of Trustees, and Superintendent Stock. Tonight, I have the honor to introduce Ms. Pooja Khanna, the founder and a pharmacist at Remedy RX Pharmacy. Ms. Khanna helped the Rocklin Unified School District with our COVID-19 vaccination efforts. In February, Ms. Khanna emailed our schools regarding the number of vaccines the pharmacy had available for any teacher and staff member interested in getting the vaccine. Many of our employees have shared how quick and easy the process was, how friendly Remedy RX employees were, and how the pharmacy provided a much-needed service during the heightened demand of obtaining a COVID-19 vaccine. Please join me in recognizing the efforts of Ms. Khanna and Remedy RX. Trustee Huff.
Ms. Khanna, where are you in our audience? Awesome. Would you come up to the podium? So our board would like to recognize you and your business for your outstanding contribution to our district, and thank you for being such an amazing member of our community. And even one of our board members was able to get his vaccine at your pharmacy, and it has been an amazing thing that you've done. It relieved a lot of stress for people who are having a hard time getting their appointments, and the appreciation is great for what you've done for our teachers and our staff and our community.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. It's been awesome seeing all our wonderful teachers come through. My kids go to school in Rocklin, and it's been amazing. The teachers of Rocklin are just awesome. So thank you so much for the recognition. It's been an honor to serve the community, and it's been a really, really nice thing to see everybody coming to the pharmacy. And a really big thank you to Placer County as a whole, Vanita Heston and Mike Romero. I mean, without them helping with the vaccines and ensuring that Remedy RX can get some, we wouldn't be able to help out the community. So thank you to everybody that's played a part of this, and I'm so glad to see all of us come together in the times that we need to. So thank you.
Chief Dosanjh will introduce the Rocklin High School Academic Decathlon team. Right back up.
Thank you, President Counter. Also tonight, I have the honor to introduce Rocklin High School's 2021 Academic Decathlon team for taking top honors in the 2021 Placer County Academic Decathlon. This year's competition topic was the Cold War. Teams were tested in 10 categories, including art, economics, essay, interview, language and literature, mathematics, music, science, social science, and speech. The in-person super quiz competition was replaced this year with online testing. I'm sure they're quite used to that. Now I lost my train of thought. So they were replaced with online testing, speeches, and interviews due to the pandemic. This is the first time Rocklin High School has won the county-wide competition and advanced to the state finals, which were held in March. Joining us tonight are school principal, Mr. Davis Stewart, academic decathlon coach, Mr. Michael Knight, and 4 members of the Rocklin High School 2021 academic decathlon team. Vice President Price.
You guys are amazing. Stand up here and let's give you guys a round of applause, and also let's see that trophy. Come on up. Wow, that is awesome. Do you think we have room for that in the case at the school? Okay, good, perfect. All right, well, I know you guys have worked on months for this, and I'm just really proud of you. It's a really great honor to say this is the first time that Rocklin High School has earned this, and good for you. And I, in addition to the rigor that you put forth academically, I know you learned a lot about teamwork and leadership, and those are skills that will forever be with you the rest of your life. So you definitely have something to be proud of, and something that makes Rocklin proud of you as well. So thank you for doing such a great job, and we're really proud of you. Let me just give you, I'm going to have you help me. Mike, will you, let's see here. So we have these 4 students with us. Okay. So let's see, this one's for you. Let's stick that under there. So this one is for Shelby Wines. Congratulations. There you go. Tyson Vu. This one's for you. Can you carry it with the trophy? Let's see. There you go. Perfect. Megan Stingle. Congratulations. And Waylon Chauvin. Did you okay? Yeah, okay. Congratulations. We're really proud of you guys. And thank you to you, Coach Knight. Good job. All right, I think we're going to take a picture right up here.
Do they want to put on their medals for the picture?
You have medals?
Look at all those
Wow.
medals.
You guys, that's crazy. That is awesome.
Principal Stewart, why don't you get in the picture too?
Oh, hold on. Okay, look at you, Cindy, first. Okay, you guys got it? Great.
Good job, guys. So, thank you for,
President Counter and members of the board, I just wanted to take an opportunity to thank you for all the support that you've given academic decathlon throughout the years. I've been involved in decathlon since the first decathlon in Placer County in 1987. I'm proud to say the first 2 years we won at Oakmont High School. There wasn't Roseville, it wasn't a Rocklin here, so high school, so that was okay. But so as a decathlete and then as a coach for over almost 2 decades at different schools, I've really enjoyed it. It's a great opportunity. I want you to know all those students had to take all those tests. They didn't specialize in just science. They had to compete in all. And they were doing speeches and interviews over Zoom. And so even for state, usually when you go to state, you get to go somewhere and visit. And so they got to stay home and take their tests at home. But so it's different. But they worked through it all, and we appreciate your support and your continued support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
So, do I have any board comments for both the groups? All right. Ask real quick, is there any public comment? Taking a look. So, folks, thank you very much. You are free to stay here as long as you want. You're also free to leave. If you've got other things going on, that's a lot of weight. You probably don't want to sit in that chair with all those medals. But thank you guys. Thank you very much. Super appreciate it. You guys are free to go, and you're free to hang out. So
Way
thank
to go,
you guys.
guys,
Thank
and
you.
Good choice.
way to represent the students of Rocklin.
Good job. Thank you. All right. Tough act to follow there, Roger. Now for Superintendent Stock, will provide us a COVID-19 update.
President Counter, trustees, I'm surprised they did not want to stay for my COVID update. However, again, we are very appreciative. So again, the context we have, of course, that we're facing is this unprecedented situation, public health guidance changing constantly, and also as we're navigating the pandemic, and we still are, even though we're back fully, all of our students full schedule, we're still not all activities, everything else where we want them, and we're still navigating challenges of the pandemic. We also continue to navigate budget challenges, and the primary challenge we're navigating is our loss of enrollment. As we've shared, the district lost 700 students during the pandemic, and we, at this date, are just shy, we're just about 500 students shy of hitting our enrollment target that we building our budget on that we'll be asking the board to adopt. So the reason I bring that up is we're navigating these challenges, and I cannot emphasize enough that we want our students back. If you are thinking about coming back to RUSD next year with the amazing teachers and you see the amazing things our students do, as we showed tonight, then enroll now. We want to plan with you in mind, and the only way we can plan with you in mind, plan how much staff to hire at our schools, is for you to enroll now. So I just share that because it's important, and you can do that online. You can go to our website and literally enroll from the comfort of your home, and we're also here to assist you at the district office in any of our schools. But the context we're in is we're navigating those challenges. And then our decisions the board has been making has been with the students and staff at the focus, balancing student learning, physical safety, and the social, emotional, mental health needs. Then, again, as we talked about, we've been on a journey since COVID, and we are, again, thrilled to be in stage 4, which is our traditional schedule with some restrictions, and we've been in that since April 6th. And our current, on the California colored tier system, which is going away hopefully June 15th, but we are still in that red category, which is considered substantial. Again, public health officials have determined that school reopening has not contributed to increase in spread or in keeping us in that red tier. But it is just equally important, just as all of us are doing with our face coverings, distance in our meeting today, that we continue to do what we can and be mindful of the regulations, because that helps all of our students stay in school and in the activities they know and love, and keeps all of our campuses continue to be open. Our data, as we share, and this is on our website, shows that while we've had a slight increase in some exposures and positivity cases in this week, that we still overall are extremely low. And again, we continue to track that, and of course, we want to make sure that we keep everybody as safe as possible. Our positive COVID cases, I can show on this, as you can see, that we are so grateful that we don't have any staff-reported positive cases over these last 2-week period, and we do have some student positive cases, but again, if you look, the numbers are very, very low, and in many schools, they're at 0%. Then Dr. McDonald will talk a little bit about our surveillance testing and vaccination.
Thank you, Superintendent Stock. Good evening, trustees. Update on surveillance testing. As you know, we continue to offer surveillance testing at all our sites every 2 weeks. The demand does remain low, so if you're looking for surveillance tests and your RUSD staff, come on in. We're available for you. Per the CDPH guidance, athletic testing for students would not be required in the red tier or below with a case rate of 7 per 100,000. We actually dipped under that for a very brief time. Unfortunately, we rose right out of it again. Currently, I think we were down to 6.5. We're back at 9.5. So that necessitates continued testing for indoor sports, and now outdoor. Football's over, and we are on to water polo. Just an update, student athletes who've been previously positive for COVID-19 or are fully vaccinated are exempt from surveillance testing for 90 days from the positive test or the final vaccine dose. In terms of the vaccine update, Placer County has administered now over 260,000 doses of vaccine, which is good news for our county and for our schools. Just this week, Placer County opened up vaccinations for ages 16 plus, more good news. We are, as a school district, strongly encouraging students over 16, particularly senior students at Rocklin, Whitney, and Victory, to vaccinate as soon as possible. Adults and students who are fully vaccinated 2 weeks following their second dose will not be required to quarantine if exposed to a positive case of COVID-19. Part of our goal is keeping kids in school, and this will definitely help. This has a positive implications for students not missing in-person instruction and attending end-of-the-year activities, such as promotion and graduation. Currently, a vaccine for ages 12 plus is waiting approval, but the outlook is good for the beginning of the 21-22 school year, so we're very hopeful.
Good evening, trustees. In regards to athletics, just a quick review. As you understand, the guidance continues to change, but for the most part, the face coverings, weekly testing, as Dr. McDonald mentioned, indoor tryouts took place on the 5th, and competition started on the 12th. understand that because of the lawsuit in San Diego, indoor sports were allowed to go. However, they could only resume with very strict guidelines compared to the college teams. The one update that did come out effective the 15th is indoor spectators are allowed in attendance and capacity limits, and those are related to the county tiers, colored tiers. We will continue to monitor that. Obviously, we want to get as many people into those athletic events as possible. Oh, wrong way, excuse me. In regards to graduation, as I reported out last time, CDPH did come out with some guidance on that, and we've been working on it. I'm happy to say and inform not only trustees but our parents that we will be moving forward with graduations on the specific dates. Victory High School and Rocklin Alternative Ed Center will take place on June 2nd, Rocklin High School on June 3rd, and Whitney High School on June 4th. Albeit, they will look a little different with attendance capacity and physical spacing, but I'm excited that all of our students this year will be able to participate in that.
Can I ask you a question, Mark? Because I was wondering about it when I read the new guidance, and it seemed like there was some things that helpful, some things that could actually set us back. So in our planning, in our conversation with the other Placer County, how did the new guidance impact our thinking?
So it was very similar, and Placer County did not even look at our proposal because they felt as CDPH came out and the guidance is very
So
clear.
they said it's going to come out anyway, just look at, just follow the guidance.
However, our proposal was very similar to what the guidance came out with.
Okay.
So
And the one thing I was concerned about the testing, and all it said in the guidance was that testing has to be available. Is that sort of the, or are they arguing that everyone who enters must be tested?
I'll have to go back and check that. I believe if they come in with mask and their physical distance, as we have set up right now for football, I do not believe they need to be tested.
Because I was just confused on that in the new guidance, because I thought I read just that the testing has to be available to them, which of course it is, so I wasn't.
Now, some of the guidance that came out as far as indoor athletics stated that
Right.
people have to be fully vaccinated and/or in a weekly testing protocol. I have not yet to see that in regards to graduation, but I could follow up on that. Other exciting news is I did work with our middle school principals, and they're excited to have promotions. But because of that guidance, as many of you as parents know, typically our middle schools promote by academy, and we have multiple promotions on each campus. However, the guidance does say there has to be 2 hours in between each of those. So for example, at Granite Oaks, they have 4 academies. That'd be very difficult. We did agree that we'll move those and follow the protocol set by our high schools. So Granite Oaks will be participating in their promotion on Friday, June 5th at Rocklin High School, starting at 8:30. And Springview will follow up at Whitney High School. Excuse me, that is my mistake there. You are correct, trustee. Our president counter, thank you. Friday. We did this because Friday there's no school. And so the parking lots will be available for parents. I'm sorry for my mistake there. Yes, that'll take place on June 4th. Whitney High School graduation will take place later on that night. So along with that, we're excited that our elementary 6th grade celebration of promotions will take place on June 3rd, 2021. And these are very site specific, so please reach out for the details from your school principal on that.
And we will be providing a information out to all of our parents this week about these events and indicating into specifics of how many tickets each will be getting. And we will make sure the dates are correct on the information we send out. And then schools will be following up with specific information, and we'll be providing the trustees with a schedule related to that as well.
Out of curiosity, I saw in the same guidance that they had guidance around proms. Or have we said anything about that?
There has not been, Mr. Flowers?
Sorry.
There have been some proposals that local schools have put forward, but there is no guidance that have come out that allowed for indoor activity like that. There's other discussions as far as having some outdoor activities, but I've yet, unless Superintendent Stock, you have seen something, no specific guidance in regards to prom activity.
Right, there's been indoor activity guidance, and some of that guidance talks about private events versus non-private, but we haven't seen any guidance that specifically addresses dancing with that type of activity. So we're continuing to look at that, to monitor. And again, what we're committed to doing is following the guidance, but allowing as much as we can within the guidance for our students. So, but we have not seen anything specific related to dances or proms at this time. And again, but this guidance comes out regularly, usually on Fridays, without much warning. So this could evolve, or people could look to interpret and get clarification on, does this activity allowed or is it not? But we have not had anything specific about proms or dances.
Quick question, just worst case scenario, just because our senior class has been through it and wants to be prepared for these things, is there something that hypothetically could happen that would cause graduation to not happen?
We are currently having some discussions in regards to, and as you heard Dr. McDonald, we are highly recommending all of our students get vaccinated, but we are looking at some other alternatives, knowing that really the last week of school, there's not a lot of new learning going on, so we'll be reporting out later on in regards to some plans that we are thinking of.
Perfect.
With all of the indoor guidance for athletics, was there anything mentioned about band, choir?
There was some mention of that in regards to playing outdoors and some of that. Again, depending on how you read the guidance as far as performers, and it's kind of referring to professional performers.
Okay.
But we have reached out to both Rocklin and Whitney and talked to them as far as their preference. I saw you at the football game Friday night and had a good conversation with Tom Douglas about that. And they're doing the best they can right now. They will be doing some outdoor concerts that are allowed, getting something indoors with the physical distancing. As of right now, there's nothing in that guidance that would allow for that.
Okay.
And then instrumental music, we've seen that guidance come out around that, talks about spacing, face coverings, but choral music, there has been no allowance of that in an indoor venue at all that we've seen. So, but we were thrilled to have the drum line out at the football game, and we are anticipating that our bands will be able, following the guidance, to be able to perform at graduation and things like that.
Would you mind following up at your superintendent meeting and asking Dr. Oldham if there is anything in addition that he could get from, because I know our choral students would, love to sing inside.
Absolutely. I will continue to ask. I have asked, and I'll continue to ask and monitor that situation as well, because we would love to hear them sing.
I will add, it is a pleasure to walk on any secondary campus, though, and hear the music out and the singing out. It just adds a little different culture to the site.
So continuing with our report, some exciting news that this week, just a couple days ago, the U.S. Department of Agriculture announced that, and these are the folks that deal with school lunches and meals, announced that universal free school meals will continue to be provided for all students through June of 2022. That's wonderful news. So as a result of that, we will be providing universal free meals to students during this summer at various locations throughout the district, because we want to make it available and accessible. We're looking at possibly between 4 to 6 sites, and we're looking at targeting our Title I schools and also making sure they're geographically spread apart so that they're within a reasonable walking distance as well. But that is good news that we will be able to provide meals to students in need, and that is significant that we don't have to rely on people to fill out forms and do all that paperwork, but we can continue to feed our children.
I was super excited about this as well. And so I am curious, obviously this is a unique opportunity for us. So there's 2 reasons we could be undercounting the kids that should get a lunch. One is that they literally don't apply for Title I. They don't claim their poverty level that it is what it is because it's or for what the parents do or it's embarrassing. So therefore they should get it and they don't qualify. Or they do qualify and they don't get it because it's embarrassing to go get it. And I'm wondering in this moment in time when it's accessible to everyone, if we can use that to encourage kids who should need this lunch to get it and actually eat, not only over the summer, but during the year, see if, especially at our Title I schools, we can sort of up the number of kids who are accessing it.
Right. We absolutely want to look to encourage how can we have folks do that, because it's true, as students get older, they tend to be more self-conscious about that and tend not to get the nutrition that they need. The other piece is will have some impact on our cafeteria fund in a sense. While the meals are reimbursable, it also means we theoretically will have less paying customers because there's not a need to pay. And so, so this is good for serving children, and so we're excited to be able to know that we can offer food during the summer for our families that need that. And we also want to thank our nutrition services staff, because easy to forget that they were out all last summer serving our families, and we're grateful for them to continue to want to help address that as well. So a big shout out to our CSDA colleagues that have done that, and we'll continue to do that because the need is definitely there for our families. We also will be moving forward to implement the plans and hire staff to address student needs, academic, social, emotional behavior that we've identified in our board study session around dealing with learning loss and those other issues related to COVID. And so if you're looking for those types of interest in those positions, they're posted on our EdJoin website to help work this summer and next school year. And these are funded with one-time state and federal funds that were dedicated for learning loss. And so we're moving now again to implement and be ready to go so that our students can get the full benefit of that state and federal one-time funding. And then local school district update. I can't believe that I put this on there, but our next move is August 11th, 2021. Kaylee, I know you're excited that you won't be here. But we are, it is really, we're at that point of year where now we think about that next move is next year. And again, we are thrilled that our community can know that they can count on our students being back 5 days full-time schedule, which for parents and for staff and for everyone to have an idea of what to plan, what to go with is critical. Other districts, you can see Eureka, they've decided they will do the same and join us next year in full time. And other districts are working to make those determinations at this time. And so really nothing has changed in current status since I've last shared with you. And then we continue to plan in a dynamic environment. As we've said, the guidance changes, is revised, and so we revise plans. No plan is final, and they will all continue to evolve and evolve and evolve. And then finally, our next steps here are looking to that we will continue to implement our schedule. We're continuing to plan as we shared to deal with the needs this summer, next year. We'll communicate, we'll collaborate, negotiate, and continue to learn and adapt. And so again, just so grateful to all of our colleagues in our schools that have worked so tremendously hard to make our full return on April 6th. It just happened, and it's true credit to them, and we're very grateful for that. And that concludes this COVID update.
Right. Are there any board comments?
No.
All right. Do I have any public comment? All right. Chief Dosanjh, are there any written comments for the board? I think so. On that one. Oh, one. Okay. All right. Moving now to public comment on non-agenda items. This agenda item is included to give anyone in attendance an opportunity to ask questions or discuss non-agenda items with the board. The board is not permitted to deliberate or take action on non-agenda items, but may refer the matter to a staff member for follow-up. A complaint about a specific employee of the district shall be made to the employee's immediate supervisor or principal as required by Administrative Regulation 1312.1. Guidelines for submitting public comment are available under Agenda Item 2.1. There's a 3-minute time limit per person. Written public comments will not be read aloud during the meeting, although the board will pause to read written comments during the meeting. Is there anybody present who would like to address the board with public comment? All right. Chief Dosanjh, are there any written comments regarding a non-agenda item?
There are two.
Two? Yeah, well, it's the top one's a non-agenda, but
They're both not agenda.
that's,
There's, President Counter, there is a comment on a non-agenda item that's written, and we also have one item for the board to read related to the COVID update.
yeah.
And these are available for anybody in the public that would wish to view these written comments, as we have been through the COVID piece. These are available through our agenda under the public comment section. You can click the link and you can see any public comment that's been written and submitted to the board in written fashion.
Moving on to our employee organization reports, Chuck Haddix, CSEA President. Welcome, Chuck.
Good afternoon, President Counter, Board of Trustees, and Superintendent Stock. Well, this is a different scenery for me. Usually I'm on the other side of the camera there. So I just want to say thank you for sending out all the links for me to be able to make those meetings and to make that happen. It was a different experience for me. And at the same time, it being a learning experience, I think the links actually helped out a lot of people. A lot of people were able to reach out to you that weren't able to come in to the meetings and stuff. So I want to say thank you for that. On the CSEA end of it, I like to say that we had finished up with our negotiations. We wrapped that up and took care of that. So I thank you for that. And I mean, that's all I really have to report today. So I just want to say basically thank you. I mean, it's nice to have the kids on campus. It's great to have all the laughing and fun faces running around. It almost brings like a great feeling to the campuses. I think that it was something that we were all missing. So once we get to that August, when we're not, getting rid of all the masks and everything, that'll be a whole new other step. But I'm very grateful to be here. I'm thankful, and thank you for the Zoom meetings, and thank you guys for everything. You guys have been out really, really well, so thank you. Yeah.
We now have Travis Moget, RTPA President for the RTPA report. Welcome, Travis.
Good evening, everyone. Just want to echo what Chuck's saying. It's just a totally different environment. It's weird, we're out there in an island, Chuck and I, those you can't see on camera, we're like the only two in the room, but we got a lot of breathing room now, so that's always nice. I was telling Brenda I miss my table, starting to, become accustomed to that, but it is what it is. Brenda said something about moving me up here next meeting, but we'll negotiate that with Dr. Limoges. So, no, in all seriousness, I want to begin with also recognizing Remedy Care. I think we all realize how important of a role they played into getting us where we are right now. So, truly appreciate that family. I don't know if we can ever thank them enough. The family, the business, all the efforts, and like they said, the county and everybody that was behind the scenes making that happen. So, just a great opportunity. And truly appreciate the board taking some time out tonight to recognize them publicly. I think that's very well deserved and a classy move on behalf of Rocklin Unified, so thank you guys for that. As we go through things, President Counter, definitely want to thank you for correcting the June date, because as you might imagine, when a lot of people heard a Saturday event after school got out, I had a lot of text messages coming in that moment, so thank you for dealing with that or addressing that. Yeah, so different kind of event, but nonetheless. Also, Superintendent Stock, just a quick question for you, if you don't mind. You spoke about the lunch program being continued through next year, which is phenomenal news, I think, for all of us. Does that include the breakfast program that's been implemented this year as well?
Ms. Patterson, do you know that? Are
you saying for summer or for all next year? Either or. But that will plan to continue next year as well? Okay. The reason I ask is my daughters both go to schools that have a breakfast program, and just hearing them talk about the utilization of that, just like Trustee Miller, like you were saying, the utilization of the program has been phenomenal, right? Whether it's people that finally feel comfortable and have had the need the entire time, or just the students that have had the need but now have somebody to go with, right? They're friends that were never really included in that need, but nonetheless, that social element is a huge piece to families and students feeling comfortable taking advantage of that resource. So great news, super excited to hear that. And again, that breakfast program, because that's how we start off the day, right? That's a huge piece, especially for our, the littler we get, the more of that need helps kind of activate their minds. So good news there. Now, like Chuck, on to the RTPA business. A few things just want to address. As we all know, unfortunately, we were dealing with RIF forms and pink slip notices that went out, a month and a half or so, about a month ago now. Super happy to hear that many of those have been rescinded. I mean, a good chunk. I think we had about 28 people individually impacted, and we're down to 7 or so people. But I don't want to lose sight of that. There's still 7 people. We hear a lot in the COVID update that we have a lot of things that are going to be implemented, starting with things like right now with night school, and there's some credit recovery programs starting on our secondary campuses. We've got summer school starting to build capacity and roll out, and then a lot of the learning loss pieces that were discussed in your most recent board workshop, and then some of the decisions you guys made that evening all had the domino effect to some of those pink slips and things. But I just want to make sure that we don't lose sight of that, and I don't think anybody has, but we still have some of our best educators that are just waiting to hear. And unfortunately, what we're hearing is that they're hearing from other employers already on offers and opportunities that they're most likely going to be taking for the sheer sake of they got to take care of their families and themselves. And it's unfortunate, but I just really hope as we're looking at all these things and prioritizing what money can be spent where and how we can use our resources, that we don't forget about those pieces. Well, we got a lot of great news and a lot of progress on it. There's still, some decent progress to make. So I implore you guys to keep doing what you're doing behind the scenes. I know that working with Bill and Marty and Tony and their teams as well, we're all working on that constantly. Tony's probably beyond tired of hearing us talk about how can we rescind these, how can we rescind these. He calls me just to tell me he's having a rough day, and I'm like, okay, how can we rescind pink slips though, right? So, but again, I think we all have that common goal, and we just keep working towards that. And then the last piece I just want to update is just the disappointment that we weren't able to reach an agreement with a retirement incentive. There was a lot of hope that from our employees that are on that bubble that there was going to be an incentive for them to look at realistically to move into an early retirement, which would help with some of the pink slips. And there's a lot of dominoes that can fall after that decision. Obviously disappointed on both sides of the table that we weren't able to reach an agreement, but optimistic that we can continue conversations or see what happens as things come. We got the May revise coming up in the very near future. Maybe that'll change things, but either way, just an area that, if not this year, definitely something we hope to make a staple in looking at on a yearly basis in Rocklin. We know that there's a bubble of staff members, especially at Rocklin High School, that are going to, in the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to have probably a large number of retirements just at that site alone. And along with that class that came into the district, those early to mid 90s years when we really expanded in Rocklin. So other than that, we'll have a lot more to update. Next time we feel finally we're done talking COVID and bargaining and just in all of the other things that we do. And well, we were, yeah. Challenge accepted, Dr. Limoges. But I think we're all finally at a place where the majority of our day is actually our real jobs now, which is a really good place to be. So that, 30 school days, I shouldn't know that as a high school teacher, to be honest. That's like not something I typically know, but this is the year that I think everybody knows and we're counting, and not for the bad reasons, but just for the we finally, conquered this beast and we made what we needed to work to get through. Great news to hear that we're going to have some opportunities for celebrating our graduating students on all levels. I mean, Kaylee I've known since sophomore year, and as much as we're going to miss Kaylee on campus, it's exciting to see her actually in her class to have that opportunity to kind of put that bookend on it. Unfortunately, our seniors of last year didn't really get in the way that they hoped. So, but moving forward, we're actually going to start real official bargaining, the actual needs and topics that we like to discuss or need to discuss. And like I said, closing out the year, just, enjoying what time we have left with the kids in our classrooms, with the kids on campus. That comes with its new challenges. I'm sure you've heard, or probably no surprise, but when you put everybody back on campus, behavior issues come back too. So if there is the negative side, that's there, but, that's to be expected. And, we overcome those things. That's part of school and the job we do every day. So thank you guys for your efforts, and we look forward to, to closing out the school year on a high note.
Thank you. Thank you, Travis. Kaylee, thank you for being here with us. Will you please share the student board representative report?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Here are a few updates from our schools. At our Rocklin virtual campus, they're currently advertising and receiving videos for their first virtual talent showcase. They have 10 different categories for students to enter, and there will be prizes awarded to the secondary grade levels in each category. They plan to show it live via YouTube on Friday, April 30th to their RVC families. Parker Whitney is working to keep a sense of community through its morning announcements created and led by their 4th, 5th, and 6th grade students. Even though they can't be out on the blacktop to welcome each other every morning, they found a way to keep connected and begin their day together. They're also hosting their annual spring book fair in a COVID guideline compliant way. Breen Elementary School is excited to be able to offer their sixth graders a virtual slide park experience this week. The students received instruction from a slide park teacher in the morning and then engaged in center-like science activities in the afternoon. They included a Rube Goldberg construction that used simple machines, making and using solar ovens, creating totems, and making their own slide park shirts. It was an amazing week of community building and learning. At Parker Whitney, the Coyotes had a very smooth transition back to everybody all day and are looking forward to giving back to those who have worked so hard to make it all happen by celebrating their first annual Support Staff Palooza on May 21st. In addition, the Student Council is sponsoring Pennies for Pancreatic Cancer from April 26th to May 7th to give back to the community and honor those who are struggling in this area. And last but not least, at Whitney High School, we're currently in the middle of our 2021-2022 ASB campaign, so there's a lot of excitement around campus. You'll get a new president next year, which is exciting. So next week is our Tangled Theme Spirit Week, where students and staff will participate in Spirit Days, giveaways, and at the end of the week, our school will be watching our first ever virtual rally. Several sports seasons are wrapping up, and new ones are beginning to start, which is amazing. Finally, my water polo team, we're on our 5th preseason right now, but that is okay. Our Student Life Committee is hoping to plan a car show for our students, as well as several new National Day giveaways. On May 4th, Whitney's College Day, where seniors are encouraged to wear their new school shirt and show off where they will be attending school next year. And last but not least, Whitney is having their first ever Inclusion Week, May 10th through May 14th. Students will participate in several different activities in class, at lunch, and after school, and discuss some uncomfortable topics such as race, ethnicity, gender, social class, and many more, all with the main goal of uniting our campus as one big Wildcat family. And our leadership class is looking forward to seeing Superintendent Stock as well as 2 other board members Monday on our leadership class. Who's coming? Yay! Well, we are excited, so that is all I have for today.
Trustees, do you have any board comments you'd like to share tonight?
Thank you, Kaylee. That was awesome. We're looking forward to the leadership meetings as well. It's going to be a lot of fun being back out on campuses. So I just wanted to say being out on campuses this month, since everybody's been back, has been amazing and absolutely filled with joy and laughter and teenage angst when you look around and see the ones that are sitting by themselves. But I did go over and talk to some of the ones that are sitting by themselves and asked them, how they felt about being back full time. And even the ones that looked miserable said they were happy to be back and they were glad. So it was good. It's just their face. But all the teachers that I've talked to are happy to have all their kids back and to get back to a sense of normalcy. Going out to the sporting events has been amazing. Seeing the parents cheering for their kids out on the fields and on the courts has been wonderful. And even though it's not exactly back to the way it used to be, it's awesome for this year. It's wonderful to have it to where the kids can be out there competing and doing what they love, and the parents can be out there cheering for them and doing what they love. So a kudos to everyone who's worked so hard to get it to this point, because I know it has been a lot of hard work. And I want to thank Chuck and Travis for their positive comments tonight. It was really great to hear that things are going well out there and that there's a lot of happiness and support for all the hard work that's going on. And we appreciate your gratitude and thanking us for what we're doing behind the scenes, because we sure spend a lot of time grateful for what all of you are doing behind the scenes. That's it. Thank you.
I'd like to echo a huge thank you to Chuck and Travis. It's no easy task to really turn a ship this big to get started April 6th, and we know that wasn't an easy date. But I was so impressed being out on campuses, the way that every bus driver, teacher, aide pulled together with excitement. I'm sure there were many questions and concerns, but everyone I saw had a smile on their face. The classrooms I went into, teachers were creative. They were unique with working with, I'm sure, what may not have felt as ideal situations in their classroom, but yet they made the best of it. I have to do a quick shout out. One school site, it was great to see how the teacher got creative, moving the kids around in the classroom, having fun with the kids in the classroom, but still not forgetting our main goal of educating our students. And so as I walked from classroom to classroom, it was great to see the smiles, the laughter, the excitement. And I have to tell you, I received so many text messages and emails, many pictures of students falling asleep in the car on their way home that first day, but many, many thanks, appreciation from parents, and I want to make sure we echo those out to the people that are out there that are actually doing the work with the students. And so thank you, thank you, thank you. From the bottom of my heart and the heart of every parent that reached out to me, I want to echo that out. Those thanks go to you and the appreciation goes to you. Also, I am excited, Kaylee, to be coming out on campus. You're not gone yet, so we get to have some more fun with you before you
One
leave.
more meeting.
Yes, one more meeting. But we're excited to come out and really talk about that Healthy Kids Survey and see what can we be doing better. Rocklin is excellent, and I really believe the excellent, not only just in our area, but in our state. But what can we do better? And I'm excited to hear from our students, because many of the great ideas we've had this year actually came from you guys. So I'm excited to get out next week and hear a little bit more from you guys about what we can be doing. Additionally, wanted to do a quick update to my colleagues here on our 2x2 with our city council. We are excited. Our event that felt so far away months ago is now here this Saturday, Rocklin Cleanup Day, in partnership with the city of Rocklin and also Leadership Rocklin. RUSD is working together for a recycle location at Sierra College in their parking lot on Eldon. We actually have some potential media coverage coming as well, so we are very excited. Thank you to everybody that has jumped in to help us with that event. And just a reminder to all parents out there listening, if you are an elementary school parent, we have a competition going on. The school with the most participation is going to get Otter Pops from us, so we will be delivering them to your school site. So again, this was just a great opportunity to work with our city. In spite of the many challenges we have all had this last year, it has been a pure joy to work with our city leadership, Leadership Rocklin, and our USD staff to put on this event. So I invite all of our colleagues, those that can make it, this Saturday, the 24th. The event is 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. I think some of us are going to try to be there in the morning, but just wanted to give you an update on that. We're excited to work together.
I'll just say almost dittoed everything you said, because the two out of my three were, yes, we have this community event coming up and we're super excited. Want to welcome our community to join with our efforts to bring recycling. We also will be doing some service at Sierra Elementary, Rocklin Elementary, and Rocklin High School that day. So if you'd like to come and pick weeds, I will be there at 9 a.m. prepping Thunder Alley with taking care of some weeds. So join us that day. That is a Rocklin service day. So we're excited about that. And it has just been, like I think I've said the last time, it's just been really fun to be on campus and feel the energy there and see the students out playing sports and athletics and talk with the teachers that are excited. And like my colleague said, thank you to the efforts. This has not been easy, but we recognize and appreciate all that our teachers and our staff are doing. The last thing I was just going to say is welcome to our Rocklin High School ASB presidents this week. We have 2 co-presidents next year. We have Trustee Miller's son, Ryan, and Sam Eckenberg, Mr. Eckenberg's son. So we're excited for them. They will be 2 great additions. And we'll have 2, so we'll have some bonus next year. So anyways, congratulations to them and welcome.
Yeah, so again, can't say anything more, like everything. Again, Travis, thank you. Chuck, thank you to your teams. The places look amazing. For the schools I went and saw on that opening day and most recent, you can't see the smiles behind the face, but you can see it in the eyes, and you see a few little kids giving you a thumbs up. So thank you for you guys. Thank you to the parents out there. We're back in it, and we'll finish off this year one of the few districts K-12 all the way open, right, Roger?
Yes, sir.
Excellent.
Excellent. And so, again, we are looking forward to, as we try to return to as much normal as we can, that we will be hosting our annual employee recognition event with limited capacity, but somewhat in person. We're working out those details to really, in our way, just that appreciation that you all have talked about being shown. And so that leads me to today. And I have to be honest, I don't give enough credit, but today, if you didn't know, is Administrative Assistant, Executive Assistants Appreciation Day. And so I have to just say, and I know the board recognizes this, and I know others in the room, that Ms. Meadows, who does an outstanding job. So in that spirit of recognition of just great work, wanted to just acknowledge Brenda today as well, and I'm hoping that my wife will get me something for Administrative Assistant days at home, but I'm not sure. And that's it.
Moving on to 10.1. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted on one motion followed by a roll call vote. There will be no separate discussion for these items unless the Board of Trustees, audience, or staff request specific items be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. Any agenda items removed from will be voted upon following a motion to approve the consent calendar. Do any board members wish to remove an item from the consent agenda for separate discussion and action? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
So moved.
Moved by Rochelle,
Second.
seconded by Julie. Excellent. Brenda, will you please call the roll?
Kaylee Hamilton,
Yes.
Julie Hupp,
Yes.
Rick Miller,
Yes.
Rochelle Price.
Yes.
Tiffany Sathoff,
Yes.
Derek Counter.
Yes. Motion passes. Alrighty. Now, item 11.1, Equity and Inclusivity Board Update. Hannah Anderson.
Good evening, President Counter, trustees, Superintendent Stock. There are actually 4 of us here to share with you an update on our equity and inclusivity work this year. This is a follow-up to the update we gave in the fall. This evening, you'll be hearing the work in this area that has been accomplished this year related to professional learning, parent-guardian outreach, and also school-level actions. We will also be sharing with you the data that's been collected in this area, as well as proposed goal areas, and share with you next steps within this work. At this point, I will pass it off to Dr. Limoges to talk to you about our why.
Good evening, Board of Trustees.
I apologize, Tony. I have to hop on a red-eye flight, so I am not cutting out on you or you, Hannah. But
I have that effect on
walk
people.
out away. I apologize. So,
Thank you. So one of my portions this evening is to kind of go over the why for trustees and for the members of the public is just to first understand that gaps do exist at many levels in different parts of our USD. And the areas that we've identified, and my colleagues are going to provide some more tangible data, but is in achievement, attendance, behavior, and on specific student perceptions. So I think one of the pieces, we're going to provide some additional data for the board following me, but I want to highlight some of the perception data. So if you could take a moment and just kind of take a look at some of our student comments that we had. Now, that doesn't represent the entire student body. It's just, it is some of the pieces from our marginalized groups that represents opinions around equity in this district. And though opinions may vary, it's still a paramount of us as a district, regardless of the number or how many, that we value those opinions and the stories of our students and do our best to address them, not only because it's the right thing to do, but we're also bound to by California Education Code and our own board policies. But I think it is important, and we wanted to make sure that we give the public and the board an opportunity to see some of the powerful message some of our students of marginalized groups are providing to the district. I'm going to turn it over to my esteemed colleague, Dr. Bill McDonald. I do want to highlight, it also aligns up with our strategic plan. Strategies 1 is to provide a system of academic, social, emotional supports for cultural acceptance for all students. And also 2.3, which is an inclusive culture where diversity and individual differences are valued and celebrated.
Hello again, trustees. I am going to spend a little time highlighting some of the actions we've been able to achieve this year. As you've heard us say many times, and I know you understand, it's been a heck of a year for actions in terms of pulling staff, doing trainings, moving things forward. One of the things we promised ourselves at the beginning of this year is that we would educate students through the pandemic and that we would do some equity work. And we have done some, so I want to share some of the highlights of that tonight. We continue to do foundational training for all of our school sites. At this point, we are actually doing training tomorrow with 3 school sites. Antelope Creek, Twin Oaks, and Rucola will have their day 2. But all our school sites are going through 3 days of training. We've trained 11 out of 16 schools at this point. They're examining equity issues. They are developing what we're calling an equity lens, and they're working through topics such as bias and oppression, isms and icks, power and privilege. In addition, all 11 of our elementary sites, including the 5 who have not yet done the foundational training, have been through the PBIS system, have been part of a trauma-informed module that kind of blends into the current work they're doing in PBIS to support students who've experienced trauma, and also examining equity data within PBIS referral data to determine where those gaps are and address those at their school sites. There are many sites who've actually finished the foundational training, so our goal for those sites was that they would build site-based equity teams, including staff and students, and start conducting training at their sites and taking action. So a list here of different actions happening at sites. At Whitney, they've created an inclusivity statement that they're including in every syllabus. There's a commitment of teachers to add the contributions of people of color to their courses. And that dovetails, next time we come together, I'll be talking to you about our equity and local history work. Really exciting stuff that's turned out very well, and that's kind of that same work. How do we integrate different stories and perspectives in what we're already teaching? We made a concerted effort to do more Black History Month activities this year than ever before. The teachers have formed some anti-racist groups where they're meeting bi-weekly at the high schools to discuss these issues and kind of explore them and build comfort amongst themselves. There's lessons being put into social studies in particular that examine those hard issues in history that we haven't taught before and have hard conversations with students. We have a Gay Straight Alliance Club at all secondary sites, and our Black student unions have been very active with community members and students, having guest speakers and hosting a BSU summit for 8 other schools, including Sacramento State. And then we continue at every district leadership team meeting this year. We've had a focus on equity, and we continue to train our leaders so they can do this work at their sites. The other piece we've worked on this year is racial healing. And I want to thank several of our board members who participated in racial healing groups, including our superintendent. It's a good conversation. It can be a hard conversation. This year we've done 4 groups that are 7 weeks each. We did 2 in the fall and we did 2 in the winter. We had over 60 parents and community members and teachers and district leaders participate in the racial healing conversations. You can see some of the comments. We did get pre and post surveys to kind of see where people landed. I got so much about every session. It was difficult to hear, especially when listening to actual experiences, but I'd find myself looking forward. I wish there was a place we could keep connecting. We're building community. Keep doing what you're doing. Open up these conversations to more people. I'm encouraged by the efforts of our USD. Of course, there was also some people this was hard for. So there was also some difficult, these are hard conversations, and there was some discomfort. And so one of the things we're committed to is getting that feedback from people. And we actually met with the leads of racial healing today to debrief and to see how we can do this better, see how we can engage more people and get more people to a place where they're comfortable doing this work. So we're heartened by this work, and we feel like we're starting to build a base of people who support the district and support the work that we're doing here and want to see real change in Rocklin. We've expanded our steering committee quite a bit through these groups to add some subcommittees. We have an event subcommittee. One of the goals of this committee is going to be create an events calendar. So have a cultural events calendar that highlights things like Black History Month or disability awareness, and plan actual events at schools and in the community and give teachers lessons and books they can use. I want to give Kelly Stefan, our district librarian, a lot of credit. She has been very helpful and put together some amazing resources for teachers they're using in their classrooms to integrate some of this work. Tonight you'll see a progress report. We're starting with a baseline. We're going to be gathering data on these different measures and looking at our progress and really seeing if we're moving the needle on some important data indicators, or equity indicators. And finally, this idea of getting representation in text, so increasing diversity and representation in our library text and supplemental texts. And again, Kelly Stefan is leading some of that work. And back to Ms. Anderson.
Just in case any of our school leaders are listening, I want to make sure they go to the right places tomorrow. So earlier we said that we had some date changes, so that Rocklin, Twin Oaks, and Antelope Creek were going to day 2 tomorrow. They are not. We are actually going to finish our series tomorrow with our 3 secondary sites that haven't quite finished. So Rocklin High, Granite Oaks, and Victory will be finishing their series tomorrow, and then we're kicking off a new series with 3 of our elementary schools this spring. So just wanted to make that quick correction so we make sure that everybody lands in the right spot. Okay, so as Dr. McDonald just shared, we are intending to report regularly to you and the public about how the work that we're doing in the area of equity and inclusivity is impacting our students and having an impact and a difference in the way that they attend school, how they feel about school, how their achievement is, also looking at their access to courses, and making sure that we don't have any disparities within our discipline and behavior data. So we will be coming back, and you'll see a slide on this later, but we will be coming back to you in the fall update with specific metrics around this area. Tonight we're going to share some broad areas where we see improvement, but it's very important to us that we work with our steering committee to guide these decisions, and that's a representative group. We want to make sure that we bring this data to them on a regular basis as well and have them help guide us as a district in our next steps. So we're looking at data in these areas as I just shared. And the one that I didn't mention is that site level work. So the steering committee last year created rubrics that will actually measure the implementation of this work through the leadership of Dr. Kathy Pond. And so those rubrics will actually be part of this data collection as well that will track our implementation. So the next couple of slides will show you our demographic data, both our student demographic data and our staff demographic data. You'll notice that these do not align in all areas. So the most common race or ethnicity for students is white, with 58% of our students in that category. The most common for staff is also white, with 80% of our staff. The least common is Pacific Islander, with 0.3%, and the least common for staff, also Pacific Islander, with 0.2%. So again, our student demographics and then our staff, those numbers that I just presented to you were all staff, but this slide will also show you a breakdown for certificated staff, our teaching staff, school psychologists, separated from our classified staff, and then separated from our administrative staff. The California Healthy Kids, which we're also going to be going out and talking with students about next week, and I'm excited to hear what they have to say. We're looking at that as metrics that we can look at within this equity and inclusivity work as well. And the reason for including this here is it gives us a unique eye into, anonymously, how students are experiencing our schools. And you'll see in this data that students in different student groups, or students with different races or ethnicities than the dominant culture in this community, experience our schools in different ways. And those gaps show up in this California Healthy Kids survey results. So we're looking at a number of metrics are actually measured in California Healthy Kids, everything from tobacco use prevention to school climate to healthy habits. Within this, we're going to look in a few areas: school engagement, school safety, and social and emotional health. So in the area of school engagement, 7th and 9th grade, there actually aren't too many gaps that show up in terms of engagement. In 11th grade, which is not atypical actually for this survey, as students progress through the grade levels for school connectedness to drop off. That's found throughout the state of California. But 11th grade African American students actually report less connectedness and less motivation compared to our all-student group. In the area of school safety, and this one is particularly striking, I think, especially given the year that we are in. So our Asian, African American, and students with two or more races report significantly more harassment due to 5 reasons compared to all students. And those 5 reasons can include race, ethnicity, or national origin, that's the first one, religion, gender, sexual orientation, or a physical or mental disability. And this, when I say significant, it was that there was a disparity of between 12 and 24% in this area for our 11th grade students compared to the all-student group. Our Asian, African American, and students with 2 or more races perceive school as less safe compared to all students. And specifically at Victory High School, our Hispanic students report significantly more harassment due to those 5 or more reasons. Their results, as you've seen in the attachment, their results are broken out separately from our from Whitney High School and Rocklin High School. In the area of social and emotional health, our Hispanic students report higher levels of chronic sadness and decreased resiliency factors compared to all students. Those resiliency factors are those positive indicators that we look at with social and emotional health that help you be more resilient. The students at Victory report higher rates of considering suicide and higher rates of chronic sadness than our other secondary sites, and then within the Victory results, Hispanic students also have higher rates than the all-student group. When we are looking at these metrics for this reporting that we're doing, we're going to be looking at what we call our wellness indicators, and they are these 5 that we'll be tracking and looking at on a more regular basis. So we'll be looking at school connectedness, academic motivation, and then some that you heard about tonight, that safety indicator, harassment due to those 5 or more reasons, and then that chronic sadness and hopelessness indicator. And at this time, I'm going to pass it off to Mr. Flowers to talk to you about attendance data and course access data.
Thank you very much. So continuing on with the metric conversation here, looking at attendance, you can see this first bullet. I'm not sure it's surprising, but the percentage of students with at least 1 absence has increased for all students during this time period. However, looking at the other 2 bullets there, Hispanics and American Indian, Pacific Islander students have similar to less 0 to 6 absences when compared to all students. However, they have more 7+ absences. Asian students and students with 2 or more races have more 0 to 6 absences when compared to all students, but they have less. And as Ms. Anderson said prior, here's the chart that shows that, a total of enrollment of over 11,000, and looking at all students here, broken down into those categories of 0 to 2, 3 to 6, 7 to 9, and 10+. Moving along, some of the metrics in regards to our course access, we did find gaps here as well. They exist in some of our advanced placement and honors courses in the percentage of students participating versus the percentage of students in that student group. For example, 10.5% of our students taking AP statistics are Hispanic. However, 17.7% of our students in Rocklin Unified are Hispanic. Asian and white students are the exception, with equal or higher participation rates in these courses. Something that I'll bring back at a later time as well is the report on dual enrollment. I was pleased to say that last year our demographics, both at Rocklin and Whitney, were very close to the demographics of the school. We did see smaller gaps here compared to the AP and honors courses, specifically for Hispanic students and students with 2 or more races. However, our last one here, our social economic disadvantage, Hispanic, African American, and students with 2 or more races are enrolled in support courses at a higher rate. Moving on to additional metrics that we're in the process of looking at, we'll be gathering in the following areas and will inform goals will be reported annually in the upcoming RUSD equity report, and we'll be focused on equity, racial and equity incidence data, and also equity and inclusivity implementation rubrics that Ms. Anderson mentioned. Moving on to our goals, our potential goals will be developed by our equity and steering committee in the areas to close these gaps. We would like to increase student safety as measured in the California Healthy Kids. We would like to decrease incidents of harassment. We'd like to decrease chronic sadness. We'd like to increase attendance rates and decrease chronic absenteeism rates, increase access to advanced courses, and then increase clubs and enrichment activities to support Latinx students. And again, as Ms. Anderson mentioned, we will come back in our fall update and include specific identified percentages for each of these metrics. Dr. Limoges will finish our presentation.
So I think it's anytime you undertake any kind of movement or initiative such as this, you're obviously going to encounter challenges, and challenges you may have had before may not become challenges, and you'll also encounter new. I wanted to highlight a few that we really brought to you earlier this year. Is obviously we've been involved in this conversation. A key component of any of the equity work is to increase training, but with a portion of the sub shortage we had this year, even though not as an excuse, it was a challenge, and we were able to pull off additional trainings. But knowing that we had to divide the groups in half to create additional because of the substitute shortage. Obviously, I think when we originally talked about this with Dr. Pond, and as we evolved, we always discussed the politicization of this work. And obviously, what I challenged the board, or we discussed with the board on, is yes, there is some form of admission that this is political work, but also there is a message that's sent politically if we choose not to do this work and to support the marginalized groups in our schools. The other piece is, obviously, we've had an extremely busy year with COVID and transitions to different programs. And though you'll never find a downtime where we're not implementing nothing into our schools, but always it's the understanding that equity is not an initiative. It's really the feeder to all initiatives that we should be doing, keeping the minds of all of our students, including the marginalized, into the plans that we create. Some of the emerging pieces that we've discussed as well is there comes a point in any initiative, and as we highlighted, I know, Rick, you were part of our original steering committee. We created a large action plan. Also, Bill and Hannah highlighted some of the work that had been done with racial healing on suggestions. I think what we have to be mindful of is there comes a point with what we call solicitation fatigue, is we've asked enough people, what are the needs, what are the wants, what do you think the district could be doing? It becomes paramount that the district at some point or another begins the implementation process, and people can see the work and receive the feedback of the feedback that they've given. So I think we talked about that as an emerging piece. The other part is, obviously, we're no stranger to the reductions that have occurred. One of the goals that have been handed to the Human Resources Department is looking for ways to diversify our workforce in times of reduction, obviously, and not a heavy recruitment effort. Any of the kind of groundwork that we've done, unable to get off the ground other than on minimal and in specific examples. I think the other piece that we encountered is looking at incidences, and we've talked about different incidences occurred. We discussed what had happened at Breen Elementary, and really looking at, for us to be us to effectively research either an increase, decrease, or what's happening, we need to make sure that within our student information system, and specific in discipline or incident command systems, we're coding them as such so we can able to access that information. Next step in the equity journey. So obviously we want to continue to do the training around foundational level. And just to remind, the goal is not we just train everybody to death. It's really, for us to really move forward, we need to have a grassroots understanding as an organization of what this work is about, and be able to have an opportunity in a way to be able to discuss our beliefs and discuss our philosophies and be able to see the perspectives. One of the highlights that we talked about tomorrow is we're going to have a student panel that we're going to listen to as part of the last day of the training. I just got an opportunity to meet with the 3 students at Rocklin High today, and I think it's always, whenever we get to listen from our constituency, which is our students, we always have the opportunity and are blessed to learn from them. The other element that we have to do as a district office is to create a mechanism. We've started kind of the groundwork to, if we're going to take this work to the site, what kind of coaching mechanisms do we have? It's, we can't structure this or expect any fidelity of implementation or longevity when we go, okay, we've trained you for 3 days, now go off and do, good luck, let us know, break in case of glass. So we're working on setting up a structure for administrative and the teams that are being sent to be able to coach them through some of this work. Also, a part of the last year's work with the steering committee was the creation of the equity rubrics. We can use these on a lot of different ways to utilize as a pre-post assessment of where our sites are. We can focus on specific areas if we wanted to set up a portion that we want to have a specific focus. And it also could be open just for dialogues. And we talked about when we created them, different ways we can utilize rubrics at the district. But again, we've solicited information and now we need to implement. I think another piece is the work of the racial healing and the work of our student groups is to make sure we're using the voices as data as well. Also, I think there's been a lot of messages we received last year is you say you're doing all of this stuff, but how are we finding out about this? How is this being communicated to us? And for those of you that know or don't know, Sandeep is a member of the steering committee, so we have direct access to our director of communications or our chief of communications and how we can communicate this work out to the sites. The other element is, as I share in this training work, that the work of equity is so always evolving and changing. And one of the the last pieces I talk about is you may do, and I run into this every year, is I'll do a series of training over the course of a year, and then I have to go back to the research to find out what is the new work that's out there because it's so ever evolving societally, politically, et cetera, to try to arm people with some balanced knowledge. So the other element is our district equity portal is amazing and has a lot of information, but we've already identified much of the information that we had on there last year needs to be updated and making sure we have staff with the capacity to keep that portal updated, or we're going to have our people that are implementing accessing information that is already 3 years beyond. And that's the end slide, so I assume if there's any questions or comments, the rest of my team are not going to leave me up here because they'd be cold-blooded. We could be glad to answer any of those questions.
Thank you to the 4 of you for all of that work. Appreciate it so much. We'll start with board comments or questions.
I don't have any questions tonight. Just thank you so much for all of that work. Holy moly. This is my first time seeing an update, so that was a lot to take in, and I look forward to learning more and hearing more about it and participating in some of what's going on out there.
And thank you, Trustee Hub. And I want to encourage and invite all members to take part of any of the trainings. I know, Rick, it was great to have you there as part of the community, not just as a board member learning and growing with all of us.
I just wanted to say I love the part about having that student panel, and I'm excited to see where that goes because I'm sure that'll be very important and beneficial for everybody.
I also want to thank you for this. It's really helpful. This has come a long way, and I really appreciate the amount of work. I really appreciate the honesty around data. You showed some pretty hard data tonight that should concern all of us. I mean, when we have 25% of our black and brown kids contemplating suicide, it should stop us all in our track in a significant disproportionate compared to the rest of our student body. So the work is clear. There's a reason we need to be doing this, but there's also a lot of reason for hope, and I appreciate what you've done. There is some great stuff in here, like the fact that the connectiveness, and I wish the principals here, but the connectiveness at Victory, right? The kids really feel there, this feeling of safety, disproportionately higher at Victory. It's fantastic. So there's lots of good stuff, things in here that we can really take pride in and move forward. But, and I appreciate you saying probably constantly sort of, I know we're in the process of something. And so I'm going to say my desire for an end goal, not a criticism of what's not here, but where I want to go. So what I would say is that across this, as I look at the metrics on slide 10, I fear that this is all way too broad and way too annual. And this is my improvement science on it, you'll appreciate, which is that this chicks data is great, but it's way too late. And so I think it's perfectly appropriate to report to us annually what's going on, but I want to make sure something's happening, that you're more regularly looking at this data and considering it and engaging it in meaningful ways to change it so then our annual outcomes can change. And I didn't see that in here. So I'd like to sort of understand it, but also understand there was also, I felt like, a lot of the problem was here, but so like an area of we want to engage, we want kids to feel more connected, but I have no idea of how we're going to make the kids by reading this. I read through the rubrics, which were great, but I have no idea how I would know as we're moving through the rubrics. So how, and being clear around how we'll know if we're successful, what we're looking at regularly, not just annually, to make sure we're making progress. And the final thing I'd say on that is that I'm not looking for a metric on every single thing. If we can pick a few, focus on that, and sort of see as we move the system, I think it'd be incredibly valuable. So just again, to wrap up with, deeply appreciate this work, deeply appreciate this engagement, and looking forward to continuing to join you and help in any way we can in this journey. So thank you.
And I want to add something to your comment, if I may. Is just addressing one of your concerns about data, and one of the things that we added this year to the trainings that all sites are going through is it's actually another day on action planning, improvement science, and how to look at data regularly, and how to look deeper at data you don't traditionally look at, what I refer to as the autopsy data after the fact.
Thank you. My comments are serious. Serious? Oh my goodness. That is not the word I was looking for. Close to what Rick was saying. Not at all a criticism, because I really appreciate all of the work that you're doing. I want to be sure that in all of our gathering, in our solicitation fatigue, we're really careful about, yes, what our actions are, but also what these really look like day to day for kids. Everything that we're doing has to go back to our strategy, and our goal is amazing. We want resilient, respectful, self-aware kids. We want to establish an inclusive culture. That's what we want. So what are we doing on the day-to-day for kids? I'll use an example of something we don't have to reinvent the wheel. You guys are aware of Stand Up, Speak Up, right? Where we teach kids a way to handle a situation with their peers, to interrupt and question, educate, echo, empathize, right? We have some things. I just want to be sure at the end of, and there won't be an end, right? Because this is going to be ongoing. But we do get to a point where we're not talking just as adults and gathering feedback, where we get to a point where we're saying to kids, and this is what it looks like when you're in the classroom, when you're on the playground, when you're out on the field, so that is how we develop this culture. So we're always circling back to, yes, we want the data, and what are we going to do with it? I know you guys are there. I know you're working on it. I know you're going to get there. I know it's a process, but I just wanted to reiterate that is a priority. Thank you.
Thank you for the great work that has gone into putting this together. I'll echo really what Trustee Miller said as well of, this data in many ways is heartbreaking and important that we look at. And, as I was looking through the attachments that you included, thank you for doing that so we could look at the full survey. I think it is important that we take some time to really sit down and look at all of those indicators, and I commend us choosing the 5 to focus on. There were a few other indicators that I noticed were alarming to me, that they were very disproportionate amongst our groups. And so I don't know if we have a response at this moment, but one in specific my eye kept going back to was under the school engagement, the indicator of caring adult relationships. I found that surprising, that there were population groups that was actually alarming, that was so varied. How is that tabulated? What does that mean when we see caring adult relationships? Some of our students have a high percentage there, but yet then that percentage drops. What does that actually mean to us when we look at that data?
So a couple of pieces. One thing to know, each of these, the label that it's given, right, that key indicator that it's given, those are actually multiple questions that feed into each one of those key indicators. So I can provide trustees later information about which specific questions led into that key indicator. But one piece to know is that all of the school engagement and supports, those decrease for our students the longer they are in our system, and that in here in Rocklin, and that is not unusual in the state of California with the results for students taking this. That the older students get, the lower their responses to the questions in the area of school engagement and supports are. So I think that I agree with you, I think that it is important that we look at what are the specific questions that are asked within that key indicator. Are there any specific questions, maybe 2 are higher and 1 is lower, that might shed some light on why that is for us here in Rocklin and that we could dig into a little bit further. We also will, just for additional information, we are going to be highlighting some of the other key indicators in our proposed goal 2 of our LCAP work. So because some of these key indicators we're choosing to report with this equity report and others of them we're going to be choosing to report specifically in our LCAP work.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments?
I would just add that this, going further, and Kaylee mentioned that trustees and I are coming out to our high school student leadership classes, and the specific focus of the conversations that our subcommittee focused on was wanting to have an opportunity, and of course, you never have enough time, but the focus of the conversations is looking at some of these key indicators and asking students who generated this data to kind of respond and kind of tell us, what's their reaction, what insights might there be, what are their thoughts, and even what ideas they have, and beginning that conversation to really hear the student voice. Because I'm very curious when our students see this and see, gee, not everybody has the same experience on our campus. What are their thoughts about that? What do they think is causing? What can we do? And begin that dialogue with the students. So I think that I'm excited that even in the face of a pandemic, we're even going into these pieces. And frankly, that because of our boards, making this a goal of wanting to improve things for all students, that we did not use this year to say, we took a year off and we'll get back to you. That because of the board wanting these outcomes improved, that we made this a priority because we see data like this that just tells us that we have to have that urgency that I hear from the board around wanting to make sure all of our students have the best outcomes, and that we, frankly, any group or students that we see that are struggling, that we look to do some things that make them feel safe, feel accepted, because we know that drives achievement and wellness outcomes. So I really appreciate that. I'm excited as we go deeper with that student piece, because I know that's been a big priority of the board as well. So that's why when we had this, we wanted to take that next step of going out. And we will continue to seek and appreciate the board asking us to focus and in this as well too. So, and thank the team that is beyond COVID pandemic schools, everything else, has also recognized that this is part of their work day in, day out, not just something that is aside that.
Thank you. Are there any public comments from the audience tonight? Okay, right here, the board's just going to pause for a few minutes and read the written comment. It looks like we have 7 written comments. Thank you for your written comments. We sincerely appreciate the engagement. Agenda item number 12.1. Trustees, do you have any items to be placed on the pending agenda? Great. 13.1, we will adjourn our meeting. The April 21st, 2021 board meeting is now adjourned. I've been waiting to do this.